Welcome back to One Piece Anime Review. This is episode number 28, and this one I'm going to talk about 800 episode 815 of the One Piece anime. I'm also going to talk about chapter 886, the One Piece manga. The 815 episode is known as Goodbye Pudding, Tearful Determination. Yep, this one it's just an adaptation of pages 18 and 19 of chapter 848 and pretty much the rest of pretty much chapter 849, basically page 2 and pages 7 through 17 of 848. That was a bug. Yeah. Yeah, I was a little surprised to see that that was adapted for this episode. Okay. So that kind of begs the question, I'm glad the fact that chapter page 19 is adapted for chapter 48. Now, I kind of thought that maybe with this episode they probably will start adapting pages from chapter 150, but I guess not. So in this particular episode, we get a chance to see, well, a few different things. One thing, you get a chance to see more of a little more Brook in this episode. He gets to do some badass moments, basically take out all the homies with his Soul King power. Yeah, in his badass moment. And he also takes out pretty much all the guards pretty simply with his Sword Blizzard attack. Yeah, pretty much all of them are pretty much taken out that way. Heck, one is simply done basically by pointing his Sword Cane, just pushing power out of defeating all of them. He takes the key, so I have read that that in the manga he took it during the battle. This one he took it right after the battle, which kind of makes sense for him to do that. Yeah, but a lot of the stuff basically for this episode is a few minor changes. Basically, first time to make an actual change to something from the manga. But mostly this one is just additions. Lots of additions. Like seeing Sanji's sister basically infiltrating the chateau and getting shot in the leg. As for who shot her, my theory was with that gun, it could have been anybody. But as far as I can tell, it could have been Bench. It's a possibility. It just depends exactly who actually shot her. Yeah, there's some funny moments like where these two tea homies, like one is green tea, one everyone's regular tea, and they ask like, green tea or tea, and he says, I'd rather have booze, and then he's like, which one of those would you rather have? Tea. I thought that was kind of funny. Now, for the German 66, it's been a good, I'd say, couple episodes since we last saw them. It wasn't that long, unlike in the manga, where they disappeared for a good period of time. I think they disappeared for roughly, in the manga, for roughly about almost 20 chapters. Yeah. But here, basically, it's perfectly fine. They're only seen for, like, one scene, and that's it. Sanji is seen for one scene, though his scene is actually a bit longer than the way he was in the 2 episodes back, where his one scene, the one time he was seen in the episode, was for about a couple minutes. This one looks like he's there for a good 5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes he's in the episode, but it's only once. Pedro basically just slices and dices through the rest of the homies till he gets to the courtyard and confronts Baron Tamego. Oh, and underneath his what the scar over his eye was, yeah, where his shades, yeah, you actually see him take it off, and apparently he lost his right eye. Well, basically for him it was his left eye, just like how Pedro lost his left eye as well. And it looks like next episode they're gonna reveal how that happened, which is fine. I'm glad the fact they're gonna do that. Like in the last episode, the teaser I saw, basically Big Mom is gonna be confronting Brook. Yeah, she breaks into the treasure room, and they don't exactly confront each other per se, but he's shocked to see her. And from what I remember, basically, that prior to him facing her, he did finish his rubbing of the red poneglyph. Yeah, he did finish the rubbing, so at least Robin will be happy. Yeah. What else? Let's see. Luffy and Nami basically get inspiration to Luffy gets inspiration to get himself out of the pin that's holding his hands together. Apparently, he's using his long, stretchy arm, because his body's remember he's spinning stuff around, using that to get out of there. Sanji is informed of Nami and Luffy's capture in this episode, and of course, Pedro and Brook's infiltration of the chateau. Yeah. Pudding is actually not seen this episode. No. That's the thing with this episode. I think Pudding was seen. Actually, wait, Pudding was seen. She was seen at the start of the episode for a good, like, 1 minute, and then she just leaves. Basically, the episode picked up right where the last week's episode left up, with her going to the cell, talking to Luffy. Now, you don't exactly hear what she tells her, but if I remember reading this particular scene, she basically tells him that Big Mom's plan, which is basically to kill the German 6-6 royal family at the wedding, and having and Pudding, instead of kissing him like pronounced in life, the plan is to shoot him. Yeah, that's the plan, to shoot him. That's simply what the plan is. Yeah, and a person who informs Sanji about the capture, I think he's one of Gang Capone's men. From the look of it, yeah, he's one of his men, so why not? And of course, he's asked by Sanji to buy groceries, because apparently he's not allowed to travel very much outside of his room. Yeah, he was allowed to go to the garden, no problem. And yeah, he has this one guy to go grocery shopping, which is a bit odd, but okay, fine. Yeah, and the episode, well, in the case of Brook's perspective, episode ends for him basically with Big Mom getting a treasure room, and he's just seeing her, and that's where it ends. Basically, they get a chance to fight next episode. It is something that Big Mom herself will confront Brook after Smoothie basically couldn't. Smoothie never got a chance to fight Brook. That would be interesting to see, especially since she's a tall woman. I mean, the way when Big Mom was walking past her, she looks like she was about half of Big Mom's height. Big Mom is supposed to be about, from look of her, look like she's about 20 feet tall, and Smoothie is supposed to be about 8-9 feet tall. Basically, she's about the same height as basically the Navy admirals, who all of them except for Luffy's grandfather tend to be about 9 to 10 feet tall. So yeah, Smoothie is like half the size of Big Mom. Yep. But yeah, it was a pretty interesting episode. Love the fact Brook got a lot more screen time in this episode than what they got in the last episode. You got a chance to see his big battle, which is great. So yeah, good episode. Now to move on to the manga, basically chapter 886. That's How I Live, and this is mostly focused on Sanji. Sanji, Pudding, and Clifton. And of course, Pound is there, Clifton's father. Yeah, they just finished the cake, and they're gonna meet up with Luffy's crew. We have the Straw Hat crew on their ship, and apparently one of Pudding's brothers, Brother Oven, apparently punches Clifton, even though she's one of Pudding's sisters, because apparently she's a traitor, because her husband, basically her husband's pirate crew, the Fire Tank Pirates, turned against Big Mom. Now, Big Mom is nowhere to be seen in this chapter at all. I mean, it's quite bizarre, though, when you finally get a chance to see Luffy in this chapter, there's no Big Mom at all. She's referenced. I'm like, you left off in the last chapter with a big, huge cliffhanger with Luffy saying Big Mom, and yet Luffy with Breely, and she's tied up in a bag. Almost forgot, basically, about Breely in the episode. She's in the episode. She's still unconscious. I totally forgot to mention about Chopper and Carrot. They basically beat her men and looking for a way to get out of the dimension. They eventually do. But I'm glad the fact they finally kind of wrapped that up. And so I think maybe next episode they might show how to get out of there. Either next episode, 2 episodes from now, who knows. But that's one thing I forgot to mention. The Straw Hat crew is actually not seen in this chapter. No, this is actually a bit of a surprise. I would say, unlike the previous chapter where they were seen a little bit, this time they're not seen at all. No Straw Hat crew. Yeah, it's never seen exactly what they're up to in this chapter. Let's see, what else? Yeah, Luffy's seen just for a brief couple pages in this chapter. Yeah, he just basically, Briley is basically in a sack, up at her head, and apparently Luffy's got her someplace. I don't know where. Yeah, this is something a bit bizarre, though. They don't, you can't, there's somewhere on Nut Island, except they can't really tell. exactly what the heck happened after Luffy saw Big Mom. It's never shown in this chapter. I don't know what Oda did this for, but yeah. As far as I can tell, now there was not a chapter released last week, so we got a brand new chapter this week. So we have, I would say, let me look at my phone here. Basically, when it comes to how these things are released, so the next time I think that the series will take a break would actually be, let's see, 2, 3. It'll probably skip the 21st and resume again with the 28th. Yeah, it will take 1 week off in December. Yes, I guess that's how it's going to work. But in the case of all these, it'll probably be sometime in February. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 week off. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it could be sometime in February. Who knows? I mean, right now there's only 14 chapters left until the series hits it's chapter 900, which that's gonna be something. It's probably gonna be a pretty long chapter. Maybe it's going to wrap up this particular arc. I don't know, because it seems like this one was going a bit slow paced. Oh yeah, and Sanji was kept under he's had to put a handkerchief over his face like a disguise. I don't really know why he did this for. And they referred to him as brother husband. As far as I could tell, they were never officially pronounced husband and wife. But when I can tell from the brief wedding they actually did show. So the ceremony was interrupted. So I don't think that they're official. No, they're not officially married. And yet somehow they think they're married because they're together. I don't know. It's just a theory. But this was a pretty interesting chapter. I liked the last chapter, which I thought was really good. This one was a bit slow, but it did advance the plot a little bit. But who knows? But yeah, in the case of Clifton, she basically didn't recognize her own father. Yeah, I was kind of wondering, like, okay, this man is your father. Oh yeah, and I kind of remember. There is an explanation for this. Clifton has never met her father at all, because from what I remember, according to Pound, Big Mom abandoned him after Clifton and Lola were born. Yeah, after his twin daughters were born, Big Mom left him. I don't know why. Yeah, it's one of the most bizarre things I have ever seen. So, okay, Big Mom abandons her husband after her newest daughters are born. It's quite odd, and the fact that after Lola it's Lola. After she pretty much turned down a political marriage, I'm not sure why Big Mom did this for. Yeah, from what I remember reading about it, is that apparently the reason why there's no giants in Big Mom's kingdom is because, well, there was a political marriage between Lola and this giant, and get this, she proposed this thing when Lola was 6. I'm like, really? Why in the world would you set up your 6-year-old child in a political marriage? Couldn't you, I don't know, pick one of your kids who's probably still single? I don't know. Big Mom, well, I can tell she is a good mother, but in the case of Lola, yeah, that and it seems like half the time her kids have no say who they get married to. That is just the way it is when it comes to Big Mom. Yeah. But that's really it when it comes to this particular chapter. It was a pretty interesting chapter, to say the least, where pretty much most of the chapter was set on Coco Island. Yeah, almost the entire thing was set there. I don't remember at any point that they ever show. It's just basically Coco Island, and like the last couple pages is just Luffy and Brelly. That's really it. Yeah, as far as I can remember. Unless somehow I forgot if the Straw Hats did show up in this chapter, I must have missed it. But if they did, please put in the comments below if they did show up in chapter 886, but who knows. So that's really it for this episode. Stay tuned next week for episode number 29, where I'm going to talk about the 816 chapter. Basically, it's the origin story of it's basically talking about Pedro's past, and hopefully, as far as I can tell, it's probably going to release this week. Excuse me. Chapter 887. Yeah, the way I do these now is that basically a few episodes back, basically whenever a new chapter comes out, I generally want to save reading until the day that the newest anime comes out. So I can read that chapter and then watch the anime, so I can review them all in the same video instead of doing separate videos. I mean, I know King of Lightning does his own live reaction to whenever a new chapter comes out, but for me, I just prefer to wait a few days and then read it and then watch the anime like right after that. I just want to be in the same day, so I'm not forgetting everything. Yeah, I want to be all fresh in my mind. That's how this is how I do things. Okay. So until you see you on my next episode, which is episode 29, basically 816. I think it's like Pedro and it's like origin of the left eye. Baron Tamanga Pedro's past. That's kind of what I remember what the chapter name is called, but it's going to explore the past. And of course, also seeing Brooke take on Big Mom. This could be interesting. And of course, hopefully, chapter 887, which I think is going to come out this week. It's probably going to be Thursday again, like it was last week. But generally, usually, sometimes manga does not get released. Manga chapters don't generally get released the same day as, let's say, comic books get released here. Comic books released here on Wednesday, so generally not a lot of the time. It's very rare, I think, a manga chapter gets released on a Wednesday. Probably from what I can tell, a lot of the time gets released either on Thursday or Friday. That's what I can tell. All right, and it's kind of odd that they release this on Thanksgiving Day. Yeah, I would have thought maybe they would wait till Friday because they probably let more sales in there if, in fact, that the chapter had been released on Black Friday instead. But that's just my opinion. Okay, so I'll see you on my next episode. Bye.